Welcome everybody to the Onward VR Master League. My name is NightFiree with 2 E's. If you are tuning in here this afternoon, you are jumping in for some Season 13 Week 1 action. And so far this week, it has been filled with a pretty good amount of good Onward action. I've been privy to some great games so far this weekend, and I'm looking forward to this matchup this afternoon. L.R.R.P versus Azuusa. Two teams new in Season 12 and climbed up to that silver ranking pretty respectably in their first season. And now I'm very interested to see what these teams are going to be bringing to the plate in Season 13 for their first game of the season. Very, again, excited to see new teams in particular joining the league and playing. And I really do want to see what these teams have been doing in the offseason, how much they've been working, what kind of strategies they've been developing. We saw the likes of Berserk playing very well yesterday, a team that also came in Season 12. And so you have to wonder if we're going to see some similar level of skill, and if we do, then I can assure you we're going to be in store for some good quality Onward action this afternoon. So before we dive into the action, as we do have both teams ready to go, frothing at the bit, if you will, I'll quickly recap our bans over on L.R.R.P. We have the Bazaar ban on Azuusa. We have the Suburbia ban. Map number 1 is going to be Snow Peak, as you already probably saw if you're savvy in maps. And we are headed right in to the action for round number 1 on map 1. Our first objective across the pond, as they say, on the other side of the lake. And a bit of a quick spawn coming in here for the likes of L.R.R.P. They could potentially challenge this defense across the lake very early with this spawn, but looking at the overhead, it looks like they're doing a bit of a split off, sending 3 for a long flank. Going to be a bit of a longer round. This being L.R.R.P's choice of map, it does make sense that they are looking to play the long game here, especially with how open range Snow Peak is. Taking a quick gander at the defense of Azuusa. Ghosterkin taking up a interesting defensive spot, one that does put them in a bit of camouflage, sure, but to a keen eye, could be an easy pick. I'll have to see if that over there, the minion, going to be able to ID without a scope. I think it is going to be a pretty tough spot there. You can only really see them in the distance with their name tag, even on, they're hard to identify, so we'll have to see if the minion is going to be able to spot that position out. Otherwise, could become a pretty good tool to defend cross out on the lake. Shotgun Preacher also could potentially have a line of sight out over towards Ghosterkin, but again, they are very much blended in. Going to be a bit of time, though, before we do see some action, unless Ghosterkin does get picked up. I don't think Ghost is going to pop up and catch this rotation. Still no eyes on him from across the lake. Definitely some concern about the potential threat. The oddball on the team checking this bunker space as they advance forward. There could be a couple of potential angles that can be taken to threaten the likes of oddball advancing down here. But Ghosterkin is playing a patient game. A very patient game. Not peeking up and over. Still hasn't been identified, although we did see a laser kind of graze this upper half, the bunker there. Laser's an indicator of where a player is aiming, obviously not something that is seen in-game. Really want to get the true experience. This is natural setting. No name tags, no lasers, no identifiers, other than uniform. What these players are used to identifying their enemy as. Just by looking at uniform. That's why you see more team kills in this game, even at a competitive level. Because sometimes in that chaos, you end up shooting your own teammates. Draculo is going to find the first kill. Nice tight angle there. Very minimal exposure, good 3/4 cover to fight anybody that's going to rotate on that side from the lake. Ghostrikin has heard Oddball and actually flashes inside bunker. Oddball is outside. Ghostrikin goes in and Oddball takes shots from names, or excuse me, from memes, but ends up tucking back in time. Has suppressive fire coming in from Shotgun Preacher as well. And so we are now even 4-4. Oddball shuts down the aggressive defensive setup, and it does come down to the on-objective defense from here on out. Shining Point, pretty key element here. Going to be able to challenge Prone there as they try and get around the bunker. And obviously the rest of this defense, Cirquillo, Odell in particular, using a bit of a risky position to defend, but does identify some rotation there on the attack. Trying to call that out to Shining, and I actually do like this defensive position. I don't think I've ever seen this taken up. You have a very small defilade as cover, and if you go prone, Odell is going to be very hard to hit and hard to identify. Again, the camouflage, a key element. Shining Point prone, looking for Captain Bojangles or Noodle. Meanwhile, Bojangles and Noodle really clearing out the space here. They need to make sure that there's no additional aggressive defenders set up. Suppressive fire over the top.
Shotgun, you're good to start moving.
Oh, and there's the first pickup. Cirquillo does get Oddball in this push. 50 seconds left, and they're going to have to move up. Odell now firing off from their corner, and Bojangles and Noodle having a tough time getting forward here. This LMG fire really hunkering them down. Noodle does get Shining Point prone. Still, though, 3 on defense. 29 seconds left. Cirquillo catches out Shotgun Preacher, and it's now up to the duo, trying to work their way forward. Bojangles does take shots into the back, can't get him. Noodle now advancing forward is going to avoid the eyes of Odell, but with 15 seconds left, I don't think they're going to have time to get close enough to the objective. If the defensive team on Azuusa just tucks in, they've got themselves a W here, and it's exactly what they do. Cirquillo does go down, the clock ticks. Odell's going to take the shot with a second left. He'll find the final kill, but Memes had the right idea to tuck in and simply buy time. And our first round of the afternoon goes the full distance. Azuusa take the point on a very patient defense, something I'm intrigued to see. Again, from teams that are somewhat fresh to the league. Obviously, a full season 12 of playing gives you a lot of time to practice, but still, I think to have that patience is certainly a impressive skill set there. And good to see, even at this level, that there is that level of discipline coming in here. It's what you need to have. The defense needs to come to you, and if they're not going to push in time, then you really can force the issue. Sometimes teams excel pushing in those final 30 seconds. That's a strategy in and of itself that takes time to develop, but not enough utility, I think, coming in there ultimately from the side of L.R.R.P on their offensive push. And Azuusa doing a nice job of holding down the defensive line. Obviously, we swap sides, and we will go back to that same objective. And so we'll see what the pacing looks like for the Azuusa offense. On their not on on a map that they have not chosen, are they going to be able to play a patient offense, or will we see some aggressive routes here? This objective, a little tough to get aggressive on, but curious to see what the Azuusa offense does end up looking like. Back into the action we go, though, as round 2 kicks off.
I know. Vamos, Azuusa!
Azuusa doing a cheer there to get themselves pumped up for the first round. Does end up ticking down some time. But after taking a round and getting your motivation right, I think maybe, you know, you want to try and pile on. Well, it's good. It's good to have the energy charged and ready to go. So let's see. The cheer for Azuusa is enough. Start them off nicely on their Marsoc round here. Taking a look at the overhead, it looks like it is going to be a potential heavy push across the lake. An interesting commitment to make, especially considering how the defense can set up to really be a threat to anybody that does try and cross the lake. Now, obviously, there is several defilades and small rock structures to provide cover. But you do have positions like Captain Bojangles, who can, I think, shoot underneath the dock, but also obviously through this tight space between the barrels. You also have the position of Noodle Poodle, who, while they are pushed up aggressively onto the north side, they can potentially turn and challenge down onto the lake if that threat becomes heavier than expected. So the rotation is there. The trouble is if Circillo gets up here, they could potentially draw Noodle, and that could open up that route for that lake push to happen in. And Azuusa isn't wasting any time on their advancement here. Circillo is crashing towards Noodle, but on the other side of things, you already have Odell and Ghostrican pushing in across the lake undetected. Bojangles isn't going to see this. And Odell has some crazy angles down into this backside of the defense. They're able to clear out so much information here. Bojangles is actually still, though, going undetected. Does Bojangles hear the footsteps behind them? Wow, they don't check up and over. The flash comes in. The minion is challenging the tight corner. That's a good flash, I think, that does connect on Odell and Ghostrican. No callouts, though, from the minion just yet. Ghostrican swings and does go down. Bojangles still up. Minion catches one. Odell's still here on the tight corner, undetected. Bojangles playing a disciplined defense, but maybe a little over-disciplined, is not pushing up. And now Minion has dropped the tight corner. He's going to open it up for Odell to take control, and Odell is going to find one. And that is on objective. Where is Bojangles in this pursuit here? They still haven't popped up to deny this. And finally, they're going to stand up and look over the top of the dock instead of under and find the key kill towards objective. Now there's only one left as Shotgun finds another, and Odell gets confirmed. Shining Point alone on the other side of the lake still. A very long way to go if Azuusa wants to try and put something together here on Marsoc. There is one kill. Bojangles caught out, trying to get those confirms. This is certainly one way to start things off. 2 minutes left on the clock, though, and Azuusa is going to have to make some moves. They spot another across the lake. I don't... additional defenders, and Noodle is still in an effective position to hold from.
He's 225 behind that mountain. Kind of like close to the
And I actually wonder if they took shots at Shining Point and ID'd them there. I heard the gunshots. Shining backs off from considering that further lake push. They go even farther around the north side. They're going to go, yeah, they have to swing all the way around to use this for cover, but they can't go too far. They have limited time. You have to go towards that objective with minute 15. You can see that. You can see the indecision. Do I go left? Do I go right? Right's longer. You know, you're going the longer route around the rock, but it is a bit safer. Could be aware of time. Continues to check the pad, which does show your time left. of the wrong street. Ooh, and there's a nice kill. Noodle goes down on the aggressive line. Big pickup there for Shining. 1v2 now. Uh, 7 seconds left. There's not going to be enough time on the clock for them to push forward or find the kills they need. They actually will connect with Preacher, but again, time ticks down. If they had maybe just pushed up a little bit sooner, they could have had a 1v1 opportunity. But that is another defensive round into the hands of L.R.R.P this time. Objective swaps location now. Head over. Indoors on the objective there. Still the option to play it slow on offense. Very present here on an objective like this. You can spend a considerate amount of time setting up before pushing into the objective, because you can oftentimes will want to send and invest at least 1 to 2 players into a north push. And any spawn that Marshak has does take time to get to the north. There's no real quick spawn on this objective that pushes you here. So if that is an element of the strategy, which it almost always is for players pushing this objective, then could see another long round here. And in fact, because we're on Snow Peak, that just could very well be the trend for the rounds this afternoon, because Snow Peak in itself, a much more open range map. It does have these select few close quarters objectives, which we do have here right now. There's only one other, but still a bit more of an open map. And actually, yeah, this is as close as you get to the north. And maybe L.R.R.P will be able to capitalize on this spawn, find themselves a pretty early push stop, into the objective space. With this spawn in particular, you're able to challenge that horseshoe and the tunnel horseshoe right away. And there is a defensive route that does involve basically charging this horseshoe to go onto the hunt for this quick spawn. So we'll have to see what Azuusa does on defense here, because this initial push could be pretty quick for L.R.R.P if they want to utilize the spawn they were given. And we're not going to see any overcommitment to defending this space. Does mean that it should be easily taken by the likes of L.R.R.P. You can also see 2 more being sent up and over to that north flank. Again, that oftentimes is your slowest element of the offensive push, and even now, with this fast spawn, it still is taking the longest to set up, as you see Oddball and the minion rotating around to the north. And now that they have got here, they are taking a bit of a pause, waiting to see if there's any counter aggression from the defense. Sometimes defense will poke out here a little bit to assess the situation. Mr. Memes, however, is playing a reserved defense. Gonna let them come into the U. This has risks, of course. You're vulnerable to nades and whatnot, but still have to defend that north side, so And pretty standard defense here, although all 4 inside tunnel, I don't know I've seen very often. Mr. Memes catching a couple of bullets onto their position,
It's
but
clear, there's nothing there.
that's a bit of
think he's
inaccurate
right there.
info. As Mr. Memes is playing patiently and tucked in. Oddball calls out, no one's there. Especially after pumping rounds through it, but out comes Memes and does find one. A nice refrag from the minion. The push coming in. Noodle Poodle also here. The timing is that when the North pushes in, they push. Noodle could have tagged Dell there, but I don't think they have the line. The flash comes in and catches out Shining Point, and here comes the smokes to follow up and deny Odell vision on the backside. Shining Point doesn't have accurate suppression. Noodle's able to find the kill. They push up. They're pushing towards objective. Tablets out. Odell has eyes from the backside, and Ghostrican has to push up. A nice nade. It's a flash that comes in, up, and over, and Noodle is completely bind on objective. A huge play from Ghostrican to shut down the cap, and as they come flying back, there's a bit of chaos. A trade between Circillo and Bojangles. Oddball crashes off their position. Ghostrican has the knife out, and whether intentional or not, they knife their teammate who runs into their knife. In the chaos, we're down to a 1v2, and Ghostrican, the sole defender, left. Minion's gonna catch the kill, and the Marsoc round goes into the hands of L.R.R.P under chaos. And that's what you want to ensue if you're on the offensive side. You want to try and force that chaos. Saw L.R.R.P end up doing there with a nice collapse onto the objective. +1 into their hands for the first time they take the lead. Their map pick, so I'm sure they're happy to have the lead in their hands, and now they go on defense, so we'll have to see if Azuusa can replicate the success there that L.R.R.P had. I gotta know what the story is for that knife kill, though, but man, that's that's one of, if not the worst way to team kill one of your teammates, to knife them in the gut. I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't know that I've ever seen that. I'm really racking my brain. I've seen plenty of knife kills, sure. Great knife kills, flashbangs, all of that. I don't think I've ever, in a league match, seen a knife team kill. So, that's a pretty cool first. That's a pretty cool first. Quickly with the KDs, Ghostrican down to 0 after team killing. Otherwise, Azuusa actually has more kills than L.R.R.P and are currently losing, so interesting number there. I think that math's right. Maybe it's not. No, they have the same amount of kills. That's quick math for you. Don't check it, just believe it. Back into the action we go. A even faster spawn for Azuusa. They are going to be able to challenge this defense right away. And it's going to be a matter of timing for this team here. Will they be able to line up their push here with the push coming in from the rest of the team? Nice bit of smoke there. Circillo is able to get around. Does get tagged once, but gets into the L and can challenge inside. Nice pickup from Minion to shut that down. And this is what I'm talking about, the timing. You don't have Shining Point or Ghostrican to threaten or challenge the opposite side. And so Bojangles and Minion are pretty comfortable tunneling onto one side of this. Suppressive fire from Oddball as well to call anything out. Odell doesn't go down. Fortunate for them. And Azuusa maintain a 4v3. Ooh, Odell almost had those shots onto Oddball as they peeked the corner. Still no presence on the north. Again, one of the longest elements to a successful push. Gonna be Ghostrikin. Not actually gonna commit to a full north rotation. Meaning that they take the inside route. A route that you can ultimately take from the horseshoe a bit quicker. And that's an unfortunate team kill. Oddball.
I just TK'd one of our dudes, poked his head out the fucking tunnel. Didn't know he was in the tunnel.
Goes down. Oddball was the one that was holding down Odell. And so now Odell is going to be able to get out safely and challenge inside here. I think that actually Mr. Memes ends up flashing their teammate. Minion is blind, but Memes gets completely caught out in the open, and Noodle is able to pick up that kill over the top. Odell then peeks a little too late, and everybody has eyes. Somehow, though, nobody takes shots. Odell makes it. Down goes one. Noodle being fully suppressed, and Odell trades with Noodle. Ghostrikin tries to come in from the north. Captain Bojangles shuts that down. We're into a 2v3 with Bojangles sending suppressive fire in the direction of Shining Point. The res comes in, and Shining Point now alone in a 1v3. L.R.R.P able to succeed under the chaos, unlike Azuusa, and looking in like they're in a position where they could potentially push this lead up 3-1. We'll have to see what the clutch looks like from Shining Point and if they can put it together.
Over to our left, Noodle.
Oh yeah, detonator is fine.
Shining Point gonna now check their tablet, realize they have 2.5 left. Or maybe realize they're the last one alive. And go for a bit of a different approach towards the objective. Shots to confirm. Long rotation may put them in Shotgun Preacher's line of sight if they're not careful. Trying to really figure out the best route for them to move through here, and L.R.R.P has somebody left. It comes out. I think that was flash, but I don't think it catches anyone. If anything, it gives away the location of the push, and all three guns open up. L.R.R.P take the final kill and the round. Their lead now up 3-1. We now swap objectives. Head on over to an outdoors location. One that I think is pretty tough to defend, though. One of the harder to defend outdoor OBJs. Typically, the outdoor objectives, I feel like, tend to lend themselves to the Volk advantage. Whereas if you just set up your defense, you can really force the enemy to come into your line of fire. But with this objective, there's... well, it's in the middle of a circle, so there's technically 4 or 5 entry points, depending on how you track them, towards this objective. And it's very difficult to effectively cover them all, even by spreading out as a team. And the trouble is, if you do commit and spread out as a team, a lot of the times those teams will overspread. and be too far away from the objective in the event that there is a fast play coming or an aggressive push or even a slow methodical crawl to the objective can go unnoticed if even one of the 5 goes down. So like I said, a tough to hold objective, one that requires good map awareness so that you're kind of always aware of who is down and where you're lacking in coverage. And so we'll see if Azuusa can put together another good defensive round like they did at the start of this series. But now L.R.R.P do stand a round away from taking map 1.
Good luck, and I'll see you soon.
No motivational cheer here, but positive words from Circulo as they do all spread out to their respective positions. We're not going to be on board Circulo because the offense has spawned on the opposite side. The trouble of this objective is that there are several different spawn points. You can spawn right in the south. You can spawn in this tunnel here in the north. You could also spawn even farther on this north side. So there's plenty of potential for where the enemy could approach from. And it enhances the difficulty of this objective a little bit in that they can come from any potential angle out of spawn. They could be a quick threat right away if they did decide to challenge out of this north tunnel. I mean, they could be here technically in a, 2v3 or even a 4v5 situation because of how spread out the defense is. So we'll have to see how L.R.R.P decide to execute out of this spawn and what their play ultimately does look like. For now, they seem a bit cautious of what could be a aggressive push on offense, or excuse me, on defense, which I have seen on the horseshoe, but now that they've sort of taken control of it, I think that threat is gone. Regardless, though, they have control and are set up and waiting for what I imagine to be Noodle Poodle, who has to clear out what is almost always a heavily defended position here. The exit to the parking lot. There's several different nooks and crannies. Like the defender could be tucked in behind the tank is certainly one of them. Ghostrikin almost doesn't see Noodle, but does finally take those shots, gives away their position, catches the first kill.
Somehow we're Fox 4. Noodle, where'd you go?
Bojangles asking a dead teammate for information so they won't be getting what they need. I do like the positioning from Ghostrikin there, but there certainly was an opportunity for Noodle to also check left and find that kill. Mr. Memes pops up and catches Shotgun Preacher pushing out from the horseshoe. The patient defensive position here pays off. The trouble is overextending can end up costing you, and fortunately enough doesn't cost Mr. Memes. It's oddball. Doesn't take the shots over the top of the sandbag. L.R.R.P down to just 3. Looks like Azuusa very much interested in fighting a little longer here. Detonated shots coming in on the corner. Mr. Memes doesn't push, and some nice oversight from Shining Point. Does get the minion down, trying to push and flank onto the Memes. And under this res, Memes is going to apply the pressure and finds a nice double kill. A great job capitalizing off the res. Bojangles does get Ghostrikin, so it's a 1v4. Memes might find more here, and does. A couple of kills to keep them in it. Where are they at the end of this round is the question. 5 and 3. Very solid job there from Mr. Memes on the horseshoe defense. Scores here. That's what it is now. Azuusa a round away from tying this up. They get their chance also at a potential map win if they can find themselves an opportunity to sneak up to that objective and punch in the code. If L.R.R.P can replicate what Azuusa did on defense, though, we are going to see this map go into their hands. Doesn't make me wonder where we're headed from map 2. Likely more long range would be my guess. Downfall is on the table. And with Bazaar and Suburbia out, there really isn't. I mean, there's stuff like Cargo and Subway, but let's see. It's a wait and see sort of situation for these two teams, but certainly has been entertaining to tune into this afternoon. Really nice, even matchup, which you love to see in the first week of regular season. And actually, I've had the pleasure of tuning into a couple of close matchups. Well, I guess one. But good games, a couple of good games so far this week. So week 1 has certainly kicked off nicely.
Right. Yes.
Back into it we go, though, for round number 6. Some motivational confirmation coming in from the L.R.R.P squad. Bojangles making sure no caps come in. That means they lose the map. Azuusa getting a similar spawn, but not quite as fast. Probably going to be a little bit before we run into the action here. For now, we'll just kind of observe the overhead. Good idea where the moves are coming in from. Oh, and there's our first kill. Shots coming in
Across the ice.
from Bojangles. Ghosterkin just crossing out in the open across the ice. A little bit ahead of the rest of the team. And does end up putting L.R.R.P at an advantage on map point. The information was gathered, though, and you can see Odell and Cirkillo very dialed into the threat over here. And just a bit of quiet. A bit of quiet as we again take a look at the overhead. We could see some action over in the north. I believe Mr. Memes is the one on point pushing in through this north side. Shotgun Preacher is scanning here and looking for any presence. Game of Honor is all about timing, though. C4 detonates. Shining Point is pushing Noodle. There's Mr. Memes getting challenged. Mr. Memes firing back. Again, we just got to stay split. Everyone is everywhere right now. Bojangles on a wide flank. Very wide flank. I wonder who they're looking to flank there. He actually somehow went past. I was wondering where the other two that were over here are. Bojangles went past them. They're behind Captain Bojangles. Shining Point still hasn't popped out, but there's the gun barrel there, the shots to the head. Noodle's going to find that kill. And Bojangles continues on their flank crusade. It means that we have to direct our attention to the duo that has gotten behind them. Because now Cirkillo and Odell are going to get a easy access pass to the objective. Memes goes down. Minion unaware of the threat, gets scooped up by Odell. Noodle may not have heard those shots, but does seem to be on the rotation to potentially turn down this threat from Odell. And they will. Meanwhile, Circillo slowly working to the objective. Fortunately enough, Oddball is there on OBJ, but if Circillo does go tablet out, there's an option for a cap. Now there is an Oddball has eyes on. Circillo does get the utility out. The smoke does come in and denies Oddball vision, but the open cross has a lot of angles on it. And L.R.R.P take map 1. Push their lead up 4-2. Solid job from them to get them the lead they need on their map pick. Map 2 now into the hands of Azuusa. I do wonder where we go from here. Like I said, I do kind of anticipate long range. Stuff like cargo subway still on the table, and it looks like map 2 taking us to subway. I think a smart pick. Definitely needed a change of pace, and I think Azuusa going into a longer range map like Downfall may have very well been the wrong choice, so. Taking a look at rosters, no swaps coming in there, it seems. Azuusa obviously starting on offense. Our first objective, the central platform. The main platform of the subway. And so maybe an opportunity to start things off with a cap for either offensive side, this OBJ. Certainly one that can be quickly scooped under a not so watchful eye, so if they can orchestrate a effective attack that distracts the appropriate defense, well, again, a cap very much on the table for an objective like this. So we should be hopping into round number 1 of map 2 shortly here. I guess we can take a look at the stats. They kind of see how they have been playing. Map going back into history using the fantastic technology in the VRML website. Take a look at their past round plays on a map like Subway. They have quite an extensive match history. 7 and 4. Excuse me, 4 and 3. I've played it 7 times, won it 4 times. A pretty good scoreline for their first season on Subway, and they very well could have been practicing and rehearsing this map during the off season, during scrims, so let's see how they play it out. Action begins. Go into it for round number 1 on Subway. D4 tossed out by Bojangles, and they'll be sitting playing the audio game, waiting to hear any cues above them before they detonate it. And they should hear the cues as Odell sprints past it. And as I say that, Bojangles detonates it off the audio. They're going to be coming up for the confirm. Oh, there's the full kill. Azuusa starting off a bit rough. I think they were looking for an aggressive play here as they had Sequillo already at the south stairs, and Elsa Killer goes down. Ghostrikin goes down. Now it's just up to the duo who has to push out from the basement. Shotgun Preacher is here and waiting. I wonder if they're going to throw their C4 here. No, they detonate it. But I don't know where that C4 was because it exploded right next. Maybe it was been a little lower. Either way, Mr. Memes and Shining Point make their way out of the tunnel successfully and are now threatening very close to the objective, forcing some rotations. Oddball's out in the open. Mr. Memes is out of ammo. Has to reload. The nade toss. Right on to Mr. Memes. That'll be a full kill. Shining Point now left alone in a 1v4. And the L.R.R.P are looking to get more points on the board and take another lead here on the second map. Still, though, a 1v4. And
Echo 3 that I know of.
patience here. Coming in from the defense is going to be key. They don't need to get over aggressive, and they have demonstrated that they can trust in their defensive rollout here. A lot of communication, too, between the team to make sure that they understand the positions of their downed enemies and themselves. And Shining Point just playing this one patiently, really utilizing the cover and peeking through the cracks to try and find any info they can. Oh, Noodle comes flying out and maybe not anticipating Shining to still be there. Does get caught out. It's one more in the books for Azuusa, but still a 3v1. The minion's gonna find the kill. Shots coming from the stairs, and the LMG pays off for L.R.R.P. And unlike last round, Azuusa do not take the early lead. But it does go into the hands of the Volk side, which is what happened as well in the beginning of map 1. So we'll see what Azuusa can manage here on their defensive opportunity as we do swap sides and stay on that same objective. I also do want to take time to shout out some folks in chat. I do see a bunch of people hanging out, which I really do appreciate. All you fine folk enjoying the VRML action this fine Sunday afternoon. I see Smiths, Kevin, Aaron? Pay Dexter, Battlestar, thank you all for tuning in and chatting it up and hanging out this afternoon. I do see the question, will we still be in venues? I very much believe so. Where venues lives does change, I suppose, but wherever you can find those broadcasts, you will. We are very much going to be returning to the venues platform, so do keep the eyes peeled for that in the coming weekends. Very likely next weekend, so we'll target the start of that. To the point, though, follow the social media to see when and where you can access that showcase, and at the very least, do go follow twitch.tv/VRMasterLeague. where you do have the option to watch it on Twitch. So be sure to follow everything. Follow the social media there. That's Onward_VRML. Noodle catching Ghostrican, getting very aggressive on defense. Maybe trying to throw a curveball towards Loop. And if maybe that was Oddball. If Oddball hadn't been watching that back corner, they very well could have had a successful flank. But nice,
They might send somebody.
nice teamwork there from
Let's hold
L.R.R.P
off.
to be aware of that potential aggressive rotation up the stairwell. And in the meantime, you have Cap and the minion poking and prodding, likely looking for any C4 placement. But I do not see the early look here, and so I wonder if Mr. Memes has planted C4 up here, or if they are just allowing Minion and Bojangles to take control of the horseshoe, and then they'll challenge from the stairs. There's a couple of different options you can do when you hear the audio cues above you, but either way, Minion and Bojangles have gone very quiet and are pushing up onto this stairwell to advance down and take control of both sides of the horseshoe. Flash comes out. Again, another indicator that the horseshoe is being taken by L.R.R.P. Bojangles and Minion are going to get it for free, though.
South guys, how you doing?
Nice control. Does give them the option to look down into the objective space. Their memes tucked in, though, playing patient, waiting to see if anyone does push down the stairs. Shining Point catches the on-point push as Noodle was trying to get down into the train tracks. Minion catches Odell, opening up Shotgun Preacher to push in from the north. To find themselves in a 3v2. As Oddball finds Shining Point. We are about to head over there. Shining Point does have some key looks. Shotgun Preacher putting rounds downrange towards the objective, and now rotations coming in for Cirquillo and shots coming in from Bojangles as suppression, but they do end up getting aggressive down the stairs, and Mr. Memes finds the kill.
Next to the call machine, next to you.
Mr. Memes also saw Oddball, gets the call out to Cirquillo, and the nade and flash come in. Cirquillo, I think, flashes out Oddball and continues to push, but doesn't know Oddball's inside the train. Oddball's going to come out and catches Cirquillo on the other side. The minion finds Mr. Memes, and L.R.R.P with Shotgun Preacher tablet out on objective take the round, but could have had more. Fortunately enough, though, they do avoid the cap, or maybe unfortunately enough if you're rooting for L.R.R.P. Azuusa, though, do only get 1 point put up against them, and the lead now amounts to 2 for L.R.R.P. Ever closer to securing themselves a Series W. See a few other folks tuning in. Again, I appreciate you stopping by. If you are new, do please hit that follow button. We do appreciate the support towards the VRML. Also, if you do have a Twitch Prime subscription available, or you have the option to subscribe, that support does end up going back to all of the casters. And as you may have seen this first week, we have plenty of folks on the team very excited to be casting, and I know that they would really appreciate that support. So, we really appreciate anyone that does end up subscribing, using your Twitch Prime, or just putting out the subscription. We've seen a few gifted subs come in as well, and so a big shout out to folks that have subbed and maybe haven't gotten that shout out. I think I got King Shava. Oh no, King Shava subbed today, so I didn't see that one, but a shout out to King Shava for joining the club and putting out the sub. We've also seen a couple of new follows. Odell throwing a follow in while they game. A true gamer. We do appreciate that. And let's see how Odell does as we go back into the action for round 3 on map 2.
Sex every day. You know, that's a club I want to go to.
Commenting on their surroundings, the sex shop spawn. And Odell now going to continue an aggressive advance through the horseshoe. Again, a risky approach if you're not ready for any C4 placement, but because of the objective, you can kind of assume that nobody should be up here. The basement objective is where we're headed now after 2 rounds. We swap OBJs. And so L.R.R.P are looking to stay tucked in and take a 3rd point here on this map. Not much of a better way to take the fire. Douse the fire. I'm gonna say take the flame out of the fire, but I don't think that makes any sense. Anyway, not a better way to shut down the momentum other than kicking off map 2 off of a map win on map 1 and going 3-0. It'll be a tough comeback for Azuusa to string together, but right now it's not quite out of reach just yet. Azuusa really do need to focus up on this round and put something together. Noodle pushed up here has me wondering if there's a C4 placement, and there it is. Placed just so that it can only be detected once you're really close enough to shoot it. That's oftentimes the best C4 placements. Otherwise, a nade could also defuse it. The C4, though, really could get bad if Shining Point also pushes up here. Sometimes these C4s are detonated a touch too early. So I'm curious to see if... Oh, no! Memes team kills. The C4 doesn't detonate. Still holding it. Gonna capitalize off the down, though. Throws the flash. There's the C4. The flash catches Shining Point, and Noodle flies the corner. Another team kill up top. It was. Cirkillo downs Odell, and Azuusa are playing against themselves more than they are L.R.R.P at this stage. Cirkillo will be able to get the res up top, though, and everyone gets ready to push the north stairwell. And if they are fortunate, they'll be allowed time to set up here on these stairs and not get challenged from behind. The flash comes out to get Oddball and Bojangles. I don't know if they were far enough around the corner, and a C4 detonating downs Ghostrick. Cirkillo's still here. They throw a nade, and they're stuck with nades in their hands. Bojangles doesn't catch Cirkillo, and Suppressive Fire comes in through the smoke, so Cirkillo flies the corner. Everyone's here. Plenty of guns on objective. L.R.R.P have a 3-0 lead now and are looking to take the series in the next round on Azuusa's map pick. Not an ideal way to kick off your map pick in hopes of trying to bounce things back here for Azuusa. And yeah, I share the sentiment of a few folks in chat. It's good to see Onward back from Kit. Absolutely. It's nice to be back with season 13 and back into the casting game, seeing new teams coming in and teams that I haven't necessarily cast before. So really a lot of fun to drop in these last few days and catch some casts, and I really have been happy to see the new casters jumping in with Jamie and Nomad and Grenade Magnet, everyone really putting in some good effort here this first week, and you can very much expect that to continue going forward. So there's going to be a lot of action, hopefully, this season in general. So do be sure to follow the channels and stay tuned in over the course of Season 13, because we're certainly kicking it off with a nice start and hoping to keep that momentum going throughout. Back into the action we go, and I can tell you, L.R.R.P are looking to maintain their momentum, because right now they're a round away from snagging this whole thing. Let's see how their pre-round chat is, and seems to be focused on kits and utility.
On the platform. Team Bongo, guys. Team Bongo.
You'll get your weapon out.
Not too much joking. And really a good bit of focus there, making sure that everyone's ready for any potential aggression. There can be some early counter aggression in these tunnels, and it's what these players are clearing out right now. Up top, meanwhile, we have some counter aggression. Ghostrican getting out here early, and Minion and Oddball able to avoid the flashes by tucking into corners and then capitalizing on an over-aggressive swing for a kill. Oddball actually was blind, but fortunately enough, the Minion did not get hit. And so what could have been maybe even a double kill doesn't go the way of Azuusa, and it kind of seems to be the trend here for this map. They just can't get these aggressive plays to work for them.
Bedroom's good.
Those shots coming in from the basement, but not at much of anything. Meanwhile, the call out does come look for C4, and that's what I'm doing as well. Just kind of doing a little scan for any C4 down the alleyway, but I don't see it, and I don't see any C4 on the upper arch here, which is a standard spot, or on the train tracks. It seems to be that Odell is just going to be the main gunner and deterrent for a push here. Double flashes, and so they very well could be set up here to challenge the push themselves. They find one. No, yes. Noodle does go down, but Noodle finds one. Oh, it's a killer. Gets a good flash there. Bojangles isn't blind, though, and does support Noodle. Cirkillo ending up with the confirm. L.R.R.P into a 4v2 situation right now, and they know it as the call-out comes in.
Smoke, Noodles. Smoke.
No, we got one. Where do you want it?
Right there. Give me a sec.
Smoke's coming in, that one a bit too far. Doesn't necessarily deny vision, and it requires a M203 smoke as support. Little suppressive fire through to make sure no one's in the tight corner, and even more smokes as they push out. Shining Point going to be holding the objective, with the majority of this effort coming in from the south side. C4 does get detonated down there, downrange, but doesn't connect. There's a quick trade on objective. And the long distance shot's finally connecting. Mr. Memes shutting down one. Oddball could swing the tight corner unconnected from the Minion, but if they sync up, there could be success here. Mr. Memes actually downs the Minion with another C4 detonation. How many clackers do they have? They can't catch Oddball, though. It was a near clutch on the backside. Ends up with L.R.R.P sweeping map to 4-0. Albeit off of a final nice last round clutch, and they do take the full series. Of course, we do play out the third map, so that still remains to be seen where we're headed. But it is L.R.R.P's choice. And so we could be en route to a bit more range, although if you are kind of analyzing, you would think that off of a close quarters win like this, maybe something like Cargo could end up working out for them. Of course, or maybe not of course, because this is a map that hasn't been in rotation, or no, yeah, of course. I was thinking of a different one. But I had forgotten about Abandon, another long-range map that sits in a similar category to that of Snow Peak. You do have obviously long-range angles, but when it comes down to objective pushing, it does tend to get kind of close quarters. So makes sense that this is a place L.R.R.P want to take to this final round. And I'm taking a look at rosters, and I don't think I'm seeing any subs coming in. I think there may have been a sub last round, but I don't know for who. See Battlestar saying that Lone Senpai gets subbed out. I don't think Senpai was in to start the series, so I don't think there have been any subs, but sure chat will correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it. Between rounds 1 and 2. Nonetheless, though, good bit of back and forth here today, and you know, Subway just not going the way of Azuusa. They had some plays in mind. You could see the aggressive rollout. They intended to go for some early picks and set things up nicely for themselves, but they just didn't connect on those early plays, and then they ultimately put themselves at disadvantages early. And so we'll have to see if they're able to change that up here going into their final map. And I do see we may very well have a sub for Azuusa. Little hydration break. I'm sure what these players are also taking. Good solid hour so far in VR. Definitely can work up a nice sweat. I think we may have had a host from Snapshot, as their finals are running right now. And if we did, I shout out you fine folk. But if we haven't, I shout out Sri Lankan for coming in with that Twitch Prime sub. A big thanks to you, my good friend, for supporting us for what has now been 9 months. That's good stuff. I really do appreciate that. Love to see the return subs. And the return support really does mean, again, a lot to myself and the casters that do put in the effort to the casting. So thank you so much for that. And again, if you can't sub, follows are appreciated as well. Support is support. If you can't sub, you can also head on over to Twitter and follow the VR Master League Twitter feeds. Whether you're interested in Onward, Echo Arena, Blast On, you can find a specific Twitter for your favorite game. You can also follow the VR Master League general Twitter, which will tweet, retweet, for the most part, you know, live streams for any league. So if you do want to catch all the action, it's going to be a good way of doing it by going on to social media and following those Twitter feeds and jumping in when you see a tweet go out. We are still waiting for a fifth from us. And I think we're into a timeout. So I will be cutting to intermission. And when we come back, we will be playing out map number 3 between L.R.R.P and Azuusa. Don't go anywhere. Nice quick timeout at that as we get back into the action. Round number 1 kicking off here with L.R.R.P on the offense and Azuusa on defense. Our first OBJ going to be the North Hilltop helicopter. And we'll have to see how L.R.R.P approaches this OBJ on offense. Out of the spawn, seems like they're going to be hugging that east side, work the east hotel. We are seeing very aggressive plays here from Azuusa to position Mr. Memes so far forward. But they do get past the initial detection. Even now, this play is still risky as you're not sure of positions of anyone in this hotel in the 3-story. But Mr. Memes feeling confident so far in their move and working themselves maybe a bit too far forward. As shots come in, it's an indicator of position. And hearing multiple shots could definitely give away the intention here that there is more than one, if not at least 3 attackers pushing in from this side. Mr. Memes now almost on a bit of a flank opportunity if they can put things together.
Dang it, bro. I keep missing.
Mr. Memes trying to get around Captain Bojangles, hearing those shots deeper behind them. Mr. Memes wants to put on a bit of a wider rotation. I do wonder if Minion and Bojangles will be ready for the push. It seems Bojangles is certainly looking and does catch the head through the tiny crack underneath the barrel. Meanwhile, closer towards objective, we have Noodle and Oddball still advancing forward along the dangerous east corridor. I say typically dangerous, not dangerous for this L.R.R.P offense. Ghost Recon is playing a much more reserved defensive positioning here. I have to wonder what exact angle they are covering. When will they pop up, if they pop up? And will they catch the appropriate attackers here? They won't. Noodle's going to find a shot to their back. Cirquillo now on a big rotation, going to go right in front of Noodle's line of sight. Another goes down for Azuusa. L.R.R.P looking to run away with this one now as they charge towards objective. Maybe a first cap opportunity could very well present itself as Chab is the only one on the objective, and it's the one that was subbed in. Chab does go down, and now Shining Point is the only attacker left alive. Noodle has Tablet out, and they're going to work up to the objective. This looks like a easy 2 points, all the time in the world. Noodle just has to punch in the code. Oddball also has Tablet out, so 2 players capping the objective here. Shining Point not necessarily crashing the objective fast enough. Does take shots towards Oddball. We now have 3 players capping the objective, and how many L.R.R.P players does it take to cap an objective? A 1, a 2, a 3. L.R.R.P have themselves a 2-0 lead on map 3 off of our first cap of the evening. I do like to see these subs come in, though. Azuusa bringing in Chabadelic. I don't know who they subbed out. I can't remember off the top of my head. Odell, maybe? Yeah, Odell. But yeah, just an unfortunate last player alive option there. And I mean, really, they were gifted a lot of time. You know, I think if they had just committed to pushing away from, you know, when you're over here, you're just so far away from objective. The only way to get to objective and really challenge somebody around a corner from you is to push all the way down this hill and then all the way back around. You really are putting yourself at a terrible disadvantage. The other, I guess, maybe even faster route is to go to the front. and go up from the front side, but even that is a very long route to get up to objective. So the only time you can really be on that side of the map and on this hilltop defending is when you have a comfortable, secure defense on objective. And that was the case for the most part until suddenly it wasn't. So typical Onward, I suppose, but L.R.R.P really piling on now. They're looking to secure this third map and come out with a very commanding week 1 win. Much like Berserk, L.R.R.P seems to just be a little bit more coordinated than Azuusa. Their plan's a little bit more structured. Their plays a little bit more structured. And ultimately, they are taking the Series W, but now they're also positioning themselves for a map 3 win as they go on defense, and we swap sides. Azuusa trying to do something here on their Marsoc push. We'll see what they can do with a different spawn. Early
One
shots
going to
from
apartments from
Bojangles,
the
and
tank didn't get him.
you know,
Saw him. I think they got the middle or one of the.
wonder
middle
what this defensive setup is going to look like from L.R.R.P. Right now, it does seem pretty standard. We're not seeing any over-aggression like not over-aggression, but any heavy aggression like we saw from Mr. Memes on Azuusa, which almost paid off. That could have been maybe the deciding factor in what could have been 1 point to Azuusa instead of 2 to L.R.R.P. But regardless, the only real forward position for L.R.R.P is Noodle right now. Checking out the window and trying to ID any kind of advance up through the center. Could very well catch Circillo if they're not careful. But they're scanning a lot of ground, and so with that limited FOV, you can really end up just tunnel visioning so much more even than in other games, and it's going to be hard to identify this push unless it's looked right at by Noodle. And well, maybe Circillo will end up getting picked off. They are going to take the outside route, which puts themselves in direct risk of Noodle's line of sight. And Circillo is very fortunate Noodle still hasn't identified him. And as I say that, there comes the kill. No suppressive fire over towards the OBJ, giving away another position to L.R.R.P. But still, the res available, so not a full kill for Azuusa.
Got him.
Reacher finds another. Noodle finishing off Circillo there, and meanwhile on the other side of things, Mr. Memes pushing down the alley looking for any sort of defense here and doesn't see it just yet. What they also won't see is a C4 placed up on top of the wall above them once they make their exit, so they're gonna have to be careful about how they approach from this corridor, if they approach down this alleyway at all. Right on the other side. Memes goes past the C4 and identifies it. They'll be able to deactivate it, but in the process of deactivating it, does give away their position, and maybe even recognizing this, drops back off of the push.
Who is with me?
Indian doesn't catch the rotation. And now Mr. Memes re-engaging this push. Mr. Minion staying tucked in. Mr. Minion, I combine the two. Flash comes up and over, goes a bit too far. A counter flash is a bit too late. Minion catches the kill before the flash connects. And here comes, well, what could be the final kill onto Azuusa, as those shots do just go a bit wide. Shining Point finally does go down. Shotgun Preacher connects, and L.R.R.P now have a 3-0 lead. Quick look at the KDs. Then a look at the overall score, which is now 11-2. You know, Snow Peak definitely looked much closer for Azuusa. And maybe it was the momentum that really got them those 2 rounds off of that early map. Solid defense, but they started so good. I love that defensive setup they had on Snow Peak to start and get their first round win. I just don't know if we've seen that patient defense since. You know, they really have been investing in aggressive styles of defense where they send 1 or 2 out and lose them, and then again kind of put themselves into a disadvantage that maybe isn't necessary, especially when you're on defense. I think it is one of the harder things to do, obviously, to play that patient reserve defensive style, but especially if you want to climb up into the gold and diamond tier, it is really a necessity to be able to have that in the toolkit. Back to things we go, though. Map number 3, round 3. As Azuusa find themselves in a bit of a bind. No points on the board and 1 point away from being done with the series.
Make sure if somebody dies here to your left, you were right.
L.R.R.P gonna go on the attack, and we'll see what they can do. Little comms before things kick off, and again, just trying to avoid the potential of losing control of objective space. Making sure that they have backups in place in case someone goes down on the edges.
I think I'm gonna die. That's all I hear. Father help.
Here we catch it on stream. Good scaling. No damage and no death.
Shit. I just shot it. Nothing.
But Oddball does shoot and gives away a little bit of their position.
Nothing is always something.
Here come the shots, and down goes Noodle. Shiny's gonna look for the other, but can't quite find it. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Preacher Minion and Captain Bojangles are making their way to this side. Getting close to the objective relatively, but still have a few key elements to root themselves out. They need to get Mr. Memes, and that's really it. If they can get out, if they can get Mr. Memes, they have quite a bit of control down towards objective space. Signing point not quite exposing themselves to this advance. And Bojangles going for a seemingly long rotation around, but they may end up cutting that a bit short. Memes. Not detecting the rotation. Didn't get the audio cues. And everyone really just kind of setting up to push closer to objective. Bojangles maybe saw Mr. Memes, or is at least looking for any peek out the window. Looks like it is finally turning into a 4v5 as Oddball does return. Sure, does advance a little bit farther forward to the objective, but again, several key eyes here that may not even be looking. Teams potentially redirecting the attention they need to the side, and Future could very well go down because of these shots. They are going to find Shining Point, though. Memes does find one. Shots coming out of Bojangles as well.
I'm lagging bad.
North, door north. He's getting inside now. North.
fire there towards the objective from Mr. Memes. They hear the footsteps, though, underneath them, and Oddball is here to challenge. In the meantime, the code gets punched in by Bojangles. They capped it from the corner in the smoke. While the attention from Mr. Memes was drawn by us and by Mr. Memes, and L.R.R.P take the series 5-0 on map 3. A solid bit of gameplay here to tune into this afternoon, and I appreciate everybody that did stop by and hang out to enjoy what was a nice Sunday afternoon of VRML action. We may have another game live right now on VRML 3 still, and so if that's the case, we'll be going over there and raiding that channel. But that's going to be it for us here on Onward VRML 1. Be sure to follow for more action next week. But that's been it for me. My name is NightFiree with 2 E's. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.